rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. First of all, I just want to say to everyone who's out there, all of my P1, whiskey warriors that have been around for a very, very long time, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for being a part of this show. You guys make this show and make me want to do this show, but you guys make this show. You literally do. You make the show. And, seeing you come in and talk and chat amongst yourselves and all of these things, and understanding, too, that you guys have much more important things to do, but you choose to come here and listen to what I have to say and what I've brought forth to you. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank also, too, I've picked up a bunch of new followers on X, so if you're over on X and you're watching this video and you followed me over there, thank you very much. I am almost to 3,000 followers over there, which is a big feat for me. Also, too, just remember, for all you longtime whiskey warriors, last night was a interesting interview. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well, because I'd like to start doing some more of that. And not so much that I'm saying that politics isn't fascinating and interesting and I want to get away from politics. I don't. But eventually there is going to come a time where politics is going to kind of slow down a little bit. And it's probably not going to be all that exciting necessarily. And so I just want to make sure that I've got other interesting things that you guys would be interested in order to keep you coming back to the show. So let me know if any of that, like that interview with John, I'm trying to work to line up another one with another wonderful person here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. I'm not going to say anything because last time that I did, it ended up falling through. So I'm going to knock on wood here to make sure that, it happens. So anyway, again, thank you very much. I do appreciate all of you. I am looking to, of course, expand and grow the show and doing different things, trying new things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And so, that kind of scenario is just fantastic. Oh, I'm being requested for Captain Unicorn. No, I haven't talked to him yet about the Thanksgiving thing. I should probably hit him up for that, because that would actually be perfect to hit Saturday prior to the week of Thanksgiving. I'm going to have to get on that. Thanks for the reminder there, Mark, over on Facebook. That's cool. All right, folks, let's get the show kicked off in the proper way. We're going to have, I think it's Three Chevys version, if I recall correctly. It's Three Chevys version of the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. And also put your hand over your heart and follow along with Three Chevy from the Rumble Crew in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Three Chevy, for putting that wonderful rendition of the pledge in. If you would like to hear your rendition, your version, your variation of the pledge here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself doing the pledge in your style. And, of course, take that audio file, attach it to an email, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. All right. Tonight's sponsor, headliner sponsor, of course, is the Institute on the Constitution. Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or, if you would like to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Check this thing out. It's an 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are tear and water resistant. No cheapo glue here, folks. They stitched that binding all the way through the leather. It has a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that you can return this to the manufacturer and get it either fixed or replaced for free. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has ensured that the contents inside will get you your civics badge in Scouts. Probably also get your civics exam as well, help you to get your civics exam. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get your copy or gifts for your leftist lunatic friends, as well as all your conservative-loving patriots that are out there. Great stocking stuffers here, folks. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. And I want to thank the Institute on the Constitution for allowing me to be an affiliate. All right. So, first things first. Are you guys tired of the are you guys tired of all the liberal left meltdowns yet? I mean, seriously. They are going totally nuts. And it seems like every time there's a new like appointment or nomination or, you know, some other thing that's come out, oh my God, they all go nuts, and they don't even know who or what to attack. Well, apparently some smart, devious, or brilliant, either way you want to look at, or maybe they're brilliant and devious, I don't know, individual on a cruise line has come up with a fantastic way to help these people to learn, or maybe not learn, but at least to cope. Okay? And let me explain why. So here in Newsweek, taking to the 7 seas, a cruise offers deal to avoid the Trump administration. It's exactly what it sounds, folks. This cruise line, Villa V Residences, is offering a Tour La Vie program. It's a residential cruise where people have the flexibility to join for up to 4 years. In other words, what they can do is they basically live on the ship as though it is their own apartment complex in some high rise or whatever somewhere. Now, the travelers who happen to join the cruise, and by the way, the cruise will be like touring the world for those 4 years. But the travelers will have a chance to visit over 140 countries, all while avoiding the U.S. and potentially Donald Trump. So for those who are TDS enabled and like, I'm talking deep TDS enabled, you guys might want to sign up for this thing. So Mikhail Pedersen, who is the chief executive officer, told Newsweek, we came up with this campaign, marketing campaign, before we even knew who would win. Regardless of who would have won, you would have had half the population upset. Quite frankly, we don't have a political view one way or the other. We just wanted to give people who feel threatened to have a way to get out. I mean, this is the kind of brilliance that you really, I mean, or deviousness, either way you look at it. I mean, it's fantastic. Hey, if you can't deal with Donald Trump being in charge, come join us on a cruise. Live on the ship, and you'll be able to travel to over 140 countries and never go back to the U.S. for the next 4 years. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'd really want to be on a boat that freaking long, but hey, whatever. So here's how expensive or not expensive it is, depending upon how you want to go. So the Tour La Vie program starts just under $40,000 per year. There's 4 different offers to escape from reality for a year, midterm selection for 2 years, everywhere but home for 3 years, and the full 4-year experience is called Skip Forward. The 4-year Skip Forward option, which would allow residents to essentially not be in the U.S. for the entire President-elect Trump administration, costs $256,000 for a single occupancy or $320,000 for 2, according to the company website. That's like less than the cost of a house these days, but a house you can keep for like 20, 30, 40 years. So, yeah. Anyway, the 1-year cruise is about 30% of the cost at about $80,000 for singles or $50,000 per person for more of them. So, yep, there you go. Or, hey, like Mark over on Facebook points out, just join the United States Navy and you'll get the same experience. I just, oh my gosh, I saw this and I just had to, I had to pull it up. This is just so funny. Oh my gosh, these people. And they are melting down, let me tell you. They are totally melting down. In fact, it's even gotten so bad that there's a guy apparently who ran for Senate in Ohio by the name of Rick Taylor. And he has gone back to, get this, the 14th Amendment yet again. Okay. Yeah, the 14th Amendment doesn't apply. And he's too much of a moron. Thank God he didn't win, but he's too much of a moron to understand this. And so I immediately put a post out, which, by the way, has gone viral, I can tell you. But anyway, he put out a post. I put out a post and told him that he was basically an effing moron, and that the insurrection, that there wasn't one. And therefore, that's why the 14th Amendment doesn't apply. And of course, oh my gosh, that like brought out all the crazies as well as a bunch of patriots. So, anyway. Oh, so I've got 2 Ohio people in the chat, one on Rumble and one on Facebook. Apparently his name is Rick Taylor, and he said his handle is like Ohio Rick 4. So it must be like Congressional District 4 in Ohio as to where he was going, or Senate 4 or something. I don't know. Anyway, you can look him up. He just he sounds like a raving, ranting lunatic. So thank goodness he didn't actually make it in. But anyway. All right. Well, it seems that, you know, a lot of these folks, especially those in the press, are having some serious problems trying to comprehend the fact that their, you know, mistress of the dark didn't win. And not only did he not win, or did she not win, but she also lost the popular vote as well. And the reason that I say that now, keep in mind, okay, that she is about 3 million roughly right now. And there's still some districts that are apparently still counting. For whatever reason, they're taking forever, I guess. I don't know. But there are some places in California, you know, things like that haven't come up yet. And so, anyway, the point is that right now, mathematically speaking, based on the numbers that are left, and again, applying statistical analysis to this, there is literally no way that Kamala Harris is going to be able to jump that much of a distance. We're talking, you know, somewhere in the realm of like 3.5 million votes. Well, Jim Acosta, lib moron extraordinaire on CNN. Now, I know he's not the top of the Dopey Head Olympics on Dan Bongino's show, but I can tell you this much. He ranks up there. Jim Acosta apparently has to get fact-checked in real time. Here in the Washington Free Beacon, take a listen to this thing.
And he's claiming a popular vote victory that did not occur. I mean, I think we heard some of that in the beginning of that speech, but
did not occur to the size he said it. He may very well have a popular vote victory when all the
by
votes are
7.1 million. That's not the case.
That will not be the case. Yeah. And obviously, there are still a million plus, maybe 2 million votes to count out of California. I would imagine the national popular vote will continue to narrow in margin, though it looks like Donald Trump will indeed have this new victory that he did not have the last time around, that he was elected president, which is not just in the Electoral College, but also claiming a national popular vote mandate.
And he...
Jim Acosta, buddy, that's one of the reasons why CNN is in the tank for ratings. You morons keep going out there and freaking, you keep claiming these things that are patently false. So, Decision Desk HQ, I checked it earlier today. She has just under 73 million, and Donald Trump has just under 76 million votes tabulated as of right now. So, I mean, again, you're looking at like a 3 million vote difference. I don't see how that's going to, you know, fix itself. She basically would have to get a 100% dump in every single county that is still counting in order to surpass that kind of a numbers. I just don't see it. No, it's not 7 million, but it doesn't matter. He won the popular vote and he won the electoral votes. So he is the undisputed president of the United States. President-elect, I should say, of the United States. Well, speaking of that, we are down to essentially four races in the House of Representatives that are essentially still being counted and still being tabulated. Right now, the House has been called to have a 219 versus 212 seat count. The Republicans have 219. And therefore, they are still in control of the House. We know that because that was announced a couple of days ago. But that being said, of the four that are remaining that are still being counted, only one is likely to go to the Democrats. So, assuming that everything holds at this point in terms of the number of seats and the number of counting, you're going to look at, let's see, if we add 3 to 219, you're looking at 222 potentially. 222 seats for the Republicans and 213 for the Democrats. So yeah. Anyway, these people, they are not accepting the loss at all. Speaking of not accepting the loss, well, let's see. We had Pete Hegseth, which was a cabinet pick, or nomination, I should say. Yeah, no, it's a cabinet pick. Cabinet pick by Donald Trump that screwed up the mainstream media and the political pundits and the Democrat morons who are running around all throughout this world. And then you had Tulsi Gabbard, which is still kind of sticking them in their craw. In fact, they're trying to spread rumors that she's some sort of a Russian asset. They're still on with the Russia crap. And granted, I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of Tulsi. I'm a little leery of the fact that she jumped from the Democrat Party over to the Republican Party. Still kind of waiting for that to sort of shake loose. But Matt Gaetz has been taking most of the fire here recently. And by recent, I mean within the last 24 hours over this whole thing. In fact, like I said last night, there's some suggestion that he may not be able to pass Senate confirmation. However, one appointment came today for the cabinet that shook even Matt Gaetz from his top spot of taking crap from the Democrats. Yes, that's right. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has now been named for the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Boy, I gotta tell you, Elizabeth Warren is just going absolutely bananas. She has attacked Pete Hegseth. She's attacked Matt Gaetz. She's attacked Tulsi Gabbard. Now she's attacked Robert Kennedy Jr. All of these appointments, I'm telling you, it's almost entertaining just to see what's coming out from the Trump campaign and then take a look at the reactions. For anybody that you may not know about, the best way to gauge whether or not these are good picks or fantastic picks or, not so interesting picks depends upon how these morons react. The more vitriol with which the left goes off on these picks, the better I like them. And that's because it's like having a little thorn in the side of the left. And believe me, after enduring the last 3+ years and the 8 years prior to the 4 years with Trump, after enduring all of that, it's about time we get a few thorns in the sides of these morons. And that pretty much seems to be not only the fact that these are actually good, very good picks, by the way, for advancing what would be a continually conservative agenda, these picks are just absolutely fabulous because they keep poking the left. And the left doesn't even know what to do. They're like running around with the chickens with their heads cut off. They have no idea who to attack first, who to stay attacking. They're just so distracted over whatever the heck is going on. And speaking of Elizabeth Warren keeps talking about ethics. And I keep pointing out that Pocahontas or Hiawatha, whichever moniker you want to throw in there, is essentially not someone who really and truly needs to be talking about ethics at all. I mean, she completely lied about her heritage in order to gain favor in the university system to get herself to be where she is in the scenario, in the position that she is in Congress and in the public spotlight. So anyway, yeah, it just It's going to be a glorious 2 years. And I only say 2 because we don't know what's going to happen in the following 2 years. But we have this setup where it is 100% Republican across the board for at least those 2 years, as I've been pointing out. So we got a lot of stuff to get done, and it's got to be done now and for sure. Speaking of Kamala Harris, somebody floated, and I don't even know if this is even true or not, but it's really scary for those of you in California who are patriots and American patriots. You guys, you may end up losing Gavin Newsom, Gruesome Newsom, hair gel himself, to none other than possibly Kamala Harris. Apparently, there was a report that came out, again, don't know if it's true or not, that she may be eyeing the governor's seat in California for her next fail upwards position. Although technically, I mean, going from VP down to governor might be a bit... anyway, yeah, she... I feel sorry for you folks in California. I mean, you guys should feel sorry for us too, because we went from Inslee to an even worse idiot, Bob Ferguson. But that being said, you know, I guess that's what you get when you live in places like Washington, Oregon, and California. Anyway, well, one thing that a lot of people have been questioning is with regards to things like, well, what about recounts? Because, again, that's what the leftists are all sitting there saying, recount, 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 recount. They're just yelling, recount, 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 into their echo chambers. One of the problems that they have is a problem with money. And the campaign bills, yeah, they're starting to come due. Yep. You remember she is probably about, 20 million in debt, last report? Well, infighting is escalating. This is in red state. Infighting is escalating and rumors are swirling at Kamala HQ as the campaign bills come due. So, whenever you have a campaign, and believe me, I've never done this, okay? I've never done this before, but my understanding, I took a look, I looked it up because that's what I do. I reach out and I learn things when I don't understand them. But one of the things that I did find out from the Federal Elections Commission is that one of the processes that goes on as you are winding down a campaign is what to do with the finances. Now, obviously, everybody is, most of the time looking at, hey, what happens when a campaign has more money than they spent? Where does that money go? Well, in the case like, for an example, Cory Booker, okay, he legally can take that money because he's been elected. He can legally take that money and put it into his reelection campaign. So he can take it and prepare for his potential reelective run after his term is over with. Now, I know Cory Booker, Spartacus himself wasn't the greatest choice, but that's the example. Now, in her case, though, she is in the hole. And so what ends up happening is they go through, and believe it or not, when they submit their final report to the FEC, after the campaign is over, they submit a what is essentially a final report, quote unquote, to kind of engage the status of where they are in terms of the money. And as a part of that report, they have, outstanding balances. They have any kind of bills listed, so on and so forth, that are out there. Well, one of the things that does happen or can happen with the FEC is that a campaign can keep fundraising in order to take any losses or any negative balances that they have. They can keep fundraising by law to try and be able to pay those balances off. That's sort of what they're doing right now. The campaign's over. She's lost. They're getting ready to, file their reports, but they are continuing to fundraise, and they can do that legally in order to pay off their debts. So she's going to conceivably have to come up with, and I'm using a round number, but come up with about $20 million, all right, in order to be able to pay off those debts. Now, unfortunately, there apparently is some open squabbles among the Democrats, according to the piece here, that there's some questions in terms of whether or not those funds, which, by the way, they can continue to campaign and fundraise for things like challenges, election challenges, and all of the lawyers that are required for that. And so one of the things that's running around is that there's open squabbles right now going on within the Democrats over their warped priorities. One person, Representative Seth Moulton, is facing backlash right now because he suggested that transgender women who play in women's sports was kind of a wrong thing to do. Okay. And so anyway, like I said, the meltdown for the Democrats because of this resounding defeat is just amazing. But another area of focus, of course, is how the $1 billion that Harris raised during her short campaign was spent. And they're starting to see that there's some revelations that are coming out in terms of buying endorsements from, all those celebrities that were out there. For an example, there's also the $15 to $20 million that was spent on the election eve concerts that they had. And there's basically a lot of second guessing, finger pointing, so on and so forth that is going in there. And as a result of all that spending, Kamala HQ now finds itself broke and begging for cash. But even that is starting to cause some problems. Okay. So here is even then they're continuing to trying to fundraise, quote unquote, for recounts for the down ballot races that are being disputed right now. So here's a quote. 2 campaign officials said the request for money meant to eventually flow to the DNC, that's the Democrat National Committee, to help assist with efforts such as state recounts or curing ballots. One of the officials acknowledged that there was some debt, but downplayed its significance, saying that it would not be difficult to pay off by year's end. The official also stressed that given the result of the election, it would have been worse to have lost while sitting on a pile of unspent cash. But several campaign officials questioned that contention, saying that it appeared the requests were meant to pay down debt. One senior campaign official called the practice of asking supporters for more money after losing decisively and having taken in so much money as, quote, appalling. Another described it as disgusting. A third person who was flooded with complaints from donors questioned how Democrats could save their credibility moving forward. The mismanagement and lack of a cohesive message from Team Kamala was also predictable. And again, I'm reading from the piece here, dating back to her first failed presidential run in 2019, which ended in part because of the very same issues that played out throughout her 2024 campaign in crucial battleground states like Pennsylvania, which she ultimately lost. For the record, she lost all 7 of those. But anyway, so in terms of those fundraising efforts that are going on, apparently, and this is a sister article in Red State, apparently left-wing donors are wary as they fear funding won't buy the, quote, resistance it used to under the new era of Trump. So, yeah. So now these people who normally would have been like, staunch supporters of the Democrat Party and continued to fundraise for them are now starting to question because of the fact that, for an example, various left-wing groups and organizations intent on thwarting his agenda are deeming themselves and calling themselves the resistance. Okay. In 2016, Trump had a hardcore education on how the swamp works. In 2024, those groups are still all around, but they may have a much tougher time mounting the new resistance that they would like. The reason is that potential donors do not think they will get the resistance bang for the buck they once did, and therefore are not ponying up. So organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, the Center for Constitutional Rights, CCR, and the National Immigration Law Center are getting less than enthusiastic responses from liberal donors after Trump and the Republicans' crushing landslide on November 5th. Already, even though Trump has yet to be sworn in, already many of these groups are ready to file lawsuits on day one of the new Trump administration. However, because the donations are trying to dry up, the heads of these groups are starting to sweat. So Vince Warren, the executive director of the CCR, said the response from donors has been shock, anger, and depression, sprinkled in with a few checks. It's not been a flood. So the CCR was, of course, instrumental in a lawsuit during the first Trump administration over the immigration ban from some Muslim-majority countries, and could also be a participant in fighting any new Trump-era immigration policy. So basically, these organizations that are staunchly left-wing and typically the tip of the spear in the quote-unquote resistance against a Trump, administration or whatever, they're having a hard time getting Democrat donors because Democrat donors are seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing the fact that it's probably not going to get them their return on investment like it used to. And so they are not forking out the money. NILC Executive Director Kika Matos has also seen a drop in donations. She said, thus far, we have not seen the same levels of giving we experienced as compared to this time in 2016. Now, she did point out, of course, that she did point out that they did see an increase after in donations after Trump took office in 2017. So they basically, what these people do is they get these donations and then they preload things like lawyers. They put lawyers on retainer. They get them, get prepared to file the lawsuits and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, they're having problems can't get these funds, then they also can't get the can't get the lawyers paid and on retainer and so on and so forth. So there could be some serious problems for any kind of resistance to any of the new Trump policies. Now, all of those groups, of course, have had help from grants from the George Soros Open Society Foundation, but they also need grassroots left-wing activists to keep things humming. Yeah. And of course, the other problem too is the fact that all of these groups who normally would see, money coming in because now the focus and shift has gone from the losing campaign over to these organizations. Right now, the Kamala Harris campaign is $20 million in the hole, still asking for donations to try and pay their stuff off. And, yeah, so there you go. It also doesn't help that, you raked in the most historical number of donations in the whole thing. And what happens? Well, you got nothing. Butt kiss. Oh my gosh, these people. I'm telling you, it's just, we are in a period, apparently right now, we are in a period of winning so much that there's going to be so much winning that we're just going to be showered in the wins, you know? And I'm not talking about wins as in W-I-N-D-S. I'm talking about wins as in W-I-N. We're going to be, you know, having winds showering down on us like money in a money pit. Oh, it's awesome. All right. So, another part dealing with money, folks. You want to know how government is spending this money? I mean, seriously. Do you want to kind of get a glimpse of how much money? I mean, we've had so many different things running through the government, and how many times did Biden like put out all of these things, and he did it all on executive order and so on and so forth. Do you want to really see the kind of garbage that we and that the Trump administration in particular is going to have to clean up in terms of money? This piece in the Washington Examiner, okay? Biden's swamp record. $1.8 trillion spent in regulations. That's 800. Yes, you heard me correct. That's 800 times more than Trump did. So here's a chart. Oh my gosh, people. Here's a chart. This is tracking the administration. So this is the regulatory activity. This is just what the administration has done, okay? The administration has done in terms of the rules that they've put out. So let's start off at the bottom of the chart here for those who are on the audio portion of the program. Obama in 2009 had 1,441 final rules. Okay. He spent on those rules, or the costs of those rules, was $491.3 billion. That's billion with a B. Okay. And paperwork hours to implement those rules are 288.9 million hours. Okay. Now, Trump in 2017, his final rules were 1,192 rules. So he had, roughly 240 less. Okay. He only spent, in terms of the costs of these rules, it only cost the government $2.1 billion for the changes that he made. And the paperwork hours were slightly more than Obama's at 292.8 million. Here's Biden's costs in terms of rules, folks. Biden's rules, 1,074. So he had less final rules, but the final costs for those rules was $1.8 trillion. His paperwork hours exceeded both Trump and Obama for less rules, by the way, in 342.9 million hours. So this is all according to the, did I miscalculate? Nana, my math whiz right here on Rumble, I miscalculated. 249 less rules for Trump than Obama is what she's pointing out. Anyway, according to the American Action Forum, the cost of Joe Biden's significant regulations pushed on America, okay, that's the point, pushed on America by those several agencies was that $1.8 trillion. It's a shocking amount compared to the $2.1 billion. Dan Goldblick, the director of regulatory policy at the American Action Forum, said it's quite a number. And he added that Team Biden still plans to jam through more rules before turning the keys of government over to Donald Trump. So, besides breaking the cost burden on his regulations, Biden is on a path to bust the record of publishing those rules in the Federal Register, America's Handbook of Red Tape. According to Clyde Wayne Cruz of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, the total this year is already in second place at 89,476 pages. Obama has the record at 95,894 pages, but with 2 months to go in the Biden administration and promises of more rules coming, Biden is expected to burst through that ceiling. Yeah. Already there are calls for Congress to nix recent Biden regulations through the arcane Congressional Review Act. This unique tool allows Congress to overturn rules that are pushed by the swamp forever. So, yeah. Folks, government spends your money. Government takes your money and spends your money, and does it very willingly because they have absolutely no responsibility whatsoever in terms of that money actually doing anything. And yes, Nana of JJS over on Rumble says, is Biden even alive? Well, he was when he was sitting with Trump, smiling like a Cheshire cat, grinning and feeling really good at Trump's win. Well, folks, the dollar, in comparison to other currency, has been having some serious issues, back and forth and so on and so forth. But the dollar, according to the Epoch Times now, the dollar has hit its highest level in over 4 months after Trump's election victory. I mean, again, Trump isn't even in office yet, and he's already winning. I saw an article I meant to put out for you guys, or actually, I have it here tonight, and I didn't put it in the show notes. It ended up on the cutting floor. But Iran is already trying to, talk peace. They've, quote unquote, reportedly postponed a third attack on Israel because of Trump's election. I mean, so anyway, the dollar itself, in terms of the value of the dollar, has hit the higher level, and the incoming administration's plans for looser fiscal and tighter immigration policy is making a strong case for this dollar rally, according to ING. So when Trump declared victory, the U.S. dollar index rose by 1.34%. It surged in the following days after November 6th, reaching a peak of 106.18 on Tuesday, surpassing the highest reached point in June 26th. The index was trading at 106.05 at 5:50 a.m. on Wednesday, up by 2.7% in the November 6th opening. During his election campaign, Trump promised many pro-business policies, which, as you saw last night, a lot of people, as we were talking to, Jonathan Richards, who is small business owner, entrepreneur extraordinaire, owner or founder and owner, well, one of the majority owners of True Grit Roots Network. Obviously a lot of business people are extremely happy about this entire situation. Okay. Trump has promised many pro-business policies and measures to stimulate the economy, including cutting taxes for workers, reducing corporate taxes to 15%, ending inflation, making America the dominant global energy producer and a, quote, manufacturing superpower, and, of course, keeping the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. You'll recall over the course of the last year, roughly, I've been telling you about all these other countries that have been looking at usurping the dollar as the world's reserve currency because of the challenges and the issues that we've been having here in this economy. Now, one thing that does drive the dollar up higher, by the way, in terms of its attractiveness is, of course, interest rates. So provided that interest rates stay, relatively reasonable, you could be looking at, the dollar remaining strong for investors across the world. And that would, of course, help us out, help the U.S. out quite a bit. Now, of course, you have to balance the interest rates with inflation. Obviously you want low inflation and moderate interest rates, or even low interest rates on some things, to make sure that you can, maintain your value when you purchase products such as homes and cars and things of that nature. But still, the idea that the dollar surging is mainly just because investors are expecting the policies that the Trump administration has been touting to materialize. And if they do materialize, they will have what is expected to be a positive impact on the nation's economy and its currency. So this is all good stuff, all of it. Well, one thing that a lot of people, especially the left, have been panicking about is all of the different cuts that are proposed to be made once the Trump administration comes into office. I mean, he's already talked about eliminating the Department of Education, which a lot of people are, extremely misinformed about, but are also sitting there saying, well, what's going to happen to our education system? Where are our kids going to get their education? Folks, there's no need to panic. The states had it taken care of before Carter put it in place. We were number one in the world in education at that time. Carter put the DOE in place, and we've never seen the number one slot since. So it is a failed experiment in terms of how to handle education. It will be handed back to the states. The Department of Education is unconstitutional anyway. It doesn't even show up in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And so what's going to end up happening more than likely is it's going to go back to the states. The states and the parents and the people within the states are going to decide all of this. They're going to make things better because they will have more control closer to where the money and the results are being tracked. That's the whole point of our federalist system of government, is because of that. That's the whole point. The federal government is not supposed to be this large blob entity of bureaucracy that is, in my case, 3,000 miles away. In fact, I better check that out. That might be, I might have, here where I live, it might actually be the same or maybe slightly longer distance to go across the country than it did for the colonists when they were going back to England. Anyway, it's okay. There's no reason to panic. Believe me, everything will be just fine. Things will work out. It's supposed to. Okay? It's supposed to. Now, one place, if you really are kind of scared, if you're, a leftist moron, all right, and you're scared about all of these things. In fact, there was one person that was saying, oh my gosh, there was one person on X that posted that if you eliminated, it had something to do with something that Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about. If he recommended, or not recommended, but he suggested that they could eliminate something like 20 million jobs. And this individual said, 20 million jobs, if you eliminated 20 million jobs, it would from the government, it would crash our economy. And I, of course, immediately came back and said, well, if 20 million jobs is going to affect our economy that much, all that does is prove how much the federal government is holding up our economy and shoring it up. If you think our economy is great and doing wonderful, and 20 million job reduction in the government kills it, that tells you that we were basically running on a house of cards, which is pretty much where we're at. And the point is that our economy and everything that we've had going on, okay, is essentially a house of cards. And it can be taken down, but it has to be done strategically so that we don't lose everything, of course. I realistically trust some great minds such as Elon, Vivek, Donald Trump, the rest of his cabinet, that they're all going to do strategically planned out and strategically proper changes to the government as time goes on. So anyway, to get back to my point though, if you're that worried about what you think is going to happen, all you have to do is look south. Wait, did you just say look south, Rick? Yes, I said look south. For those of you that may not have remembered, but there is a country that is ahead of us by about a year right now in terms of the situation that they were in. So here in the Daily Wire, Javier Milei, who is a staunch economist, brings Argentina's inflation to less than 3%. Now, here's the thing. Okay. And he is a libertarian. I mean, by nature, basically by his nature, his political viewpoints, he's libertarian. So his economic plans are proving enormously successful down there. Remember how he took over like a year ago and everybody was like, oh my God, Argentina is going to freaking just, they're going to fall into chaos. They're going to get so on and so forth. Yeah. Right. So here, the country's inflation plunged to 2.7 in October. Okay. It registered at 3.5 earlier, but 2.7 is where it actually ended up, the lowest level in 3 years. Milei had promised to lower the inflation rate to less than 3% before the end of 2024. Economy Minister Luis Caputo stated, "We are decreasing the tax that creates the most distortion, inflation." And this is true. Even Milton Friedman was saying that the hidden tax on our money is inflation, that it is a tax, one that most people don't seem to realize occurs. So anyway, in 2022, and here's some stats for you. In 2022, the Argentinian inflation rate was 72.43%. Barron's reported that when Milei took office last December, monthly inflation had leapt up by 25.5% after he devalued the peso by more than 50%. It has since been on a downward trajectory, coming in at under 5% each month since May. Milei, who wielded a chainsaw on the campaign trail last year as a symbol of his plan to slash public spending, has cut energy and transport subsidies and thousands of public sector jobs. He declared, "We are emerging from the desert. The country is starting to grow again." So, yeah. In early October, students protested in Buenos Aires because Milei's government implemented strong spending cuts at public universities. The Economist noted that in June, that Milei had slashed spending while the central bank stopped printing money to finance the deficit, adding that by most economic measures, Mr. Milei is beating expectations. Argentina has had fiscal surpluses for 5 months in a row. Inflation spiked after a sharp devaluation, but has since fallen to a monthly rate of 4.2% in May, the lowest in over 2 years. We now know that's at 2.7 in October. Yeah. So if you guys don't think, I mean, now we're not even close to the level that Argentina was in before Milei stepped out. But I'm just telling you, all of these movements, all of these things, all of these changes are going to be, they're going to be good. We have got something like $36 trillion in debt. We're spending almost $1 trillion every 100 days in interest on that debt. We have got to get our spending completely under control. Okay? We have got to get spending completely under control. The only way to do that is to cut our expenses. And that's exactly what doing things like getting rid of the Department of Education is going to do. That's what's going to happen, folks. I'm telling you. We're in possibly, there's going to be some possible rough times ahead. I'm not going to deny that. But we've got to get a handle on this. And at the far end of the tunnel, we'll be coming out more on top than anything else in this. For those guys who are over on Rumble trying to spell Vivek's last name, I can't spell it, but I can tell you it's Ramaswamy. So if I were going to try and phonetically spell it, I would say Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy. Anyway. I think I just did it. Anyway, so there you go. All right, folks, that is it for me for tonight. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It's free. And once you are there, sign up for, search for American Perspective, the channel. And once you find it, make sure you hit that green follow button. Also, too, don't forget, before you take off, leave those thumbs up and likes on all of my outlets, whether you're on X or Facebook or YouTube or even Rumble, because all of that helps to elevate these videos and all of these videos and everything, and would expand me to a larger audience, which is what I'm looking for, because you guys run the show. You guys are the ones that keep coming back every single day. Speaking of that, we will see you tomorrow night. It's Friday, folks. Tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.